Hey guys, Thomas the Genie here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie The Croods, A New Age. So, if you end up enjoying this review, then consider joining my Patreon page. Any donations are desperately needed. With that being said, let's get on to the review. So, my thoughts and feelings on the first of The Croods, which I don't even remember when that movie came out. It was okay, from what I can recall. It's been a while. I have not watched it again since its release. I don't think so. At the very most. It's essentially resolved around the girl Eep, and her trying to convince her father that this new guy called Guy was worthy of joining their pack, and he had his new ways, and they had their old ways, and them eventually coming to terms to trust him well enough to hang out with Eep. And the sequel kind of builds off on that, on the terms of the future versus the past. And this time we follow Guy in his road to his positioning before the movie, like a sort of short prequel setup, if you will. As he's told by his parents to go towards this place that will lead him to a place called the future. So he's riding with the Croods and their pack still, and they eventually come across this new group, the Bettermans, aptly named the Bettermans because they have better civilized, upgraded materials, and they invite Guy because they knew his parents. His parents apparently passed away, and they want to take care of him. The mother and the daughter of this group have a daughter, which they eventually want him, Guy, to hook up with their daughter, while the Croods are experiencing this whole new world, this whole new get-up. Everything is upgraded from the experience that they knew. The father is still very set in his ways. The mother, at first, at the beginning anyways, is very like, oh, this is nice, and then the Betterman mother talks to her, and she's like, oh, this seems sus all of a sudden. And meanwhile, Eep and Guy are being torn apart pretty early on in their relationship. Guy being getting more accustomed to the future stuff, that even he wasn't even aware of apparently, even though he had upgraded stuff beforehand, which is probably the most confusing part about the movie, but whatever. So eventually, Eep has some girl time with the Betterman daughter. They go out and like hang. The two fathers hang out and hang. The two mothers go out and hang. So there are these little family dynamics that are happening. The son from the Croods is just window watching for the majority of the movie. He's not terribly important to the movie, I would say. The granny becomes suddenly important near the end of the movie. But other than that, she doesn't really play a significant part up until that part. And so the level of the trepidation comes from Guy's and Eep's relationship crumbling, because, again, as I mentioned, Guy is learning about all this new stuff, and Eep feels like she's being left behind, while she went off to go show off the Betterman daughter, this life of the past, and how fun it is to just roam free. So they experience that. The father of the Croods wanted to constantly eat bananas, which heavily revolves around the end of the movie, surprisingly enough. So they had this one rule, the Bettermans did, about never eating the bananas. And, okay, so that's the setup, and they eventually do. The wife and husband agree that this place is sort of sus all of a sudden when they talk to each other after their back and forth at the little meetup with the family reunion of both families. So they ate all the bananas behind the Betterman's back, and then that led to the father freaking out. And at first, it is revealed that on the opposite side of the wall, is a monkey, and that leads to some laughing from the father of the Croods side, until the army of monkeys appears and ravages their location, stealing away the fathers, the Crood father, the Benjamin father, and Guy. So the three of them are captured and whisked away to the Monkey Island, or area, I should say, where they're being prepared to negotiate their potential either escape or surrender or whatever it's going to happen. Meanwhile, the majority of the other characters are females. And the reason I bring that up is because the movie explicitly brings this up as well, particularly from the grandma. She explicitly says something about the patriarchy, and then, like, how her group was all about, like, they don't need no man. This is literally what happens in the third part of the movie. I can't pretend like it doesn't happen. That is what is in the movie. So, the females, all of them, and the son being the only one that the Crood son, who is a character that isn't even important to this plot, are the only characters left, and the grandma gets the location with her wig being an animal, so she's able to let it fly and find where the males have been taken away to, and she paints them, giving them new names and apparently a new boost in confidence, even though I do think that they could have accomplished the very same thing without the makeup, but whatever. So they get the location, they ride over, and they save the guys after the guys have been almost thoroughly eaten by a giant monkey that they were about to be sacrificed to. So, after that happens, Eep and Guy reunite. They rekindle their relationship. Guy figures out that the things he was saying was hurting Eep. After self-reflection, and they move about their day. Their relationship allows them to start their new pack as they get ready to leave when they are reunited with everyone else. The Croods, meanwhile, decide that they're going to chill out with the Bettermans back at that place with the monkeys. Monkeys seem cool now that they got rid of the big monkey. They get rid of the big monkey by, like, thwarting it. With the new animal companions that they met along the way, which included a wolf spider pack family, and the big tiger thing you see in the front of the poster that they are riding. And that is essentially the movie, in recap form, which is what I usually do when I review a movie. I will recap what happens first and talk about the more detailed parts after. So, in terms of the objective parts of the movie, I do feel like the pacing was a bit, it's a bit like you're trying to select these groups, have them interacting, have enough material to cover the two dads talking, the two mothers talking, Eep and Guy's relationship, and I do think that that's something you can set up a little bit easier with a sequel. You only have to introduce the new characters, and in this case, the new couple is similar enough to Guy, except they have even more future stuff. So their setup is pretty simple in terms of their character. Their daughter seems to be sheltered, and she seems to be not okay with it, but then they end up going back anyway, so I don't know. Um, that part does seem kind of pointless. I'm a little bit surprised she didn't decide to go with the other two, actually, now that I think about it. Um, and they set up that the daughter, the smallest daughter, can talk now a little bit at the end of the movie, anyway. Um, so yeah, I do think that the pacing is a little bit rough, but it manages because again, the setup of the first movie established, at least from what I can remember, established what these characters are like. I think it has been too long, so I'm not gonna say definitively that is what it is, but whatever. Anyway, I will say the whole third act being very female led, I'm not even surprised anymore. Honestly, again, I know this isn't. I don't know who this is actually made by. I know it's not Disney. Um, is it DreamWorks that does the Crude movie? I actually don't know, but whoever does this movie is clearly falling in line where what direction Disney's been going in for the past few years. I would say close to a few years, and that being very female and diversity heavily driven. I've never been opposed to these things. It's just in terms of execution is where I find trouble with it. Uh, Even when you look back at the Marvel movie, for example, just to make a comparison, the shot where all the females jump in is, even by most people, considered pretty stupid. I've heard even, a large number of women actually also despise that little moment because it's so unnecessary and forced that it's very just like, see, it's very trying to tell you the thing that it's trying to be. Uh, in this case, we get a little bit of the obvious here. It's kind of showing and telling at the same time. It's like, hey, look, the females are strong. The guys have been captured away, and they've been pretty dumb. Darn. Well, looks like it's up to the ladies. So I do feel like it's falling in that era of again, woman power and diversifying. Uh, I would say at least I will give it this. It doesn't feel as forced as that Marvel moment, but it's still a little bit. The execution's still a little bit rough. Um, and again, like I said, I have no issue with that. If you want to create an empowering woman character, you can look back in history and find them. They're not that hard to pick out. You have your Ellen Ripley moments, in early Alien. You have your Sigourney Weaver moments. Uh, you know, and if you move along, you have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Later on in history, in terms of animation, you have Moana, who I think Moana is like one of the better examples of like she never explicitly says like woman yada yada yada. She just does things that are cool, which I've always preferred. If you're gonna do a woman empowerment movie, just have the woman do the cool thing. Moana is again probably the best example I can think of current animation that's still relatively new, and I know they're making a Moana series apparently, which is great. I do think that they could do more with that character, I guess, if they want to. They're gonna make more money, whatever. But yeah, you don't have to look that hard to actually find woman empowerment. So this is no surprise, and just as the same as diversity. Although this movie technically, as far as I know, the characters aren't diverse, so there's that. But same thing for a diverse cast. As long as you execute it properly, again, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be how well is that character executed rather than just insert that character because they are that race or whatever, which it does feel like happens sometimes. Star Wars, for example. Instead of meeting the quota, make the character interesting. And when you make the character interesting, people go, not only is that diversity, but it's well done diversity. That is what we're actually asking for. When we are asking for diversity, when people are asking for diversity in the media, that is what I think they are asking for, is better diversity. Better represented diversity as a main character that actually has character, instead of just being a comedic device, for example. If you don't catch my drift, Star Wars. So avoid doing that at all cost, in other words. In the case of the Croods, is their adventures done? I don't know, and I wish I knew which company made this, because again, I think it's DreamWorks, but I'm not even 100% sure. I'll look it up afterwards and feel pretty dumb. Feel free to comment below. Mustache Tom, you're pretty dumb for not knowing what company does animate the Croods. Feel free. I don't know, whatever. I feel pretty dumb right now not knowing, but whatever. As far as a score is concerned, I mean, it's okay. I would say a 6 out of 10. It's fine. It's fine. I wouldn't say solid necessarily. Again, just fine. There are some good moments here and there. The animation's pretty fluid from what I can gauge. Yeah. Pretty good. That's my review of the Croods: A New Age. So if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are desperately needed, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye.